Hi, my name's Scott McIntyre. Behind me is my father, Franny McIntyre. About 7 years ago, my father was involved with a couple guys that started this for the Multi-Veteran Center. It's the Veterans Multi-Center, I'm sorry. They decided that to help the veterans out and get the mummers involved with all the various clubs. And we start collecting from canned goods to clothing, to jackets, gloves, hats, everything that we would, the toothbrushes, cleaning supplies, everything. And we brought it down to the Veterans Multi-Center, and they were real grateful. So it's gotten bigger and bigger every year. My father was a veteran in 1966 and 67. He was in Vietnam. He passed in 2019 of Agent Orange, unfortunately. But they gave him the honor of naming today after him, as well as another Marine named Franny Casper from the Saturnalian NYA Brigade. He actually passed about 2 years ago. So that's what today's all about, continuing the tradition of giving back to the veterans and being a grateful American to give back to those guys that sacrifice so much, as well as the women in the
helping veterans. But more today is that this day we thought could go on the rest of the year through the museum by acknowledging a Mummers Veterans Wall and a POW remembrance. As many of you Mummers know, the parade was only stopped twice since it started, and that was once for our world pandemic, but more importantly for when World War II and a lot of our guys were overseas fighting for our freedom, the parade was held up. And that's very, very important.
Afternoon. I'm one of 591 that were released from Hanoi in 1973. So next year is the 50th anniversary of our repatriation. A couple of points that I just want to make. You're welcome. There were 3 million of us that served in Vietnam. So 3 million came back and were really scorned for the longest time. So if you're a Vietnam veteran here, welcome home, wherever you are. There were also, from a Vietnam era, 58,000 that were killed. At the time, 25 years ago, 50 years ago, there were 2,500 missing. Today, when we dedicate this section back here, I want you to think of it more as a table with regard to respect for our missing in action. So since World War II, there are still over 81,000 missing in action since World War II, which means there are 81,000 families that are still awaiting accounting for their loved one. There's an organization in Dover, Delaware that helps organize these things and bring back and identify remains. Patrick's been involved in what's called the dignified transfer, which is finally getting their loved one back into their family's hands and have a dignified burial. So we're really here more to remember our missing, more so than those of us that are still alive. While I was in Hanoi in 1972, the very end of the war, I was really fortunate to meet some of the guys that were there for many years. Everett Alvarez was number one. When I met him, he had already been there 8 years. So a lot of the guys that I met were there from 4 to 8 years, and they made life easier for us. The one message that we were able to deliver to them was that they had not been abandoned or forgotten by their country. So I don't know if you remember, most of you are too young, but in 1971-72, the creation of the POW MIA flag came out. I think it was January of '72. And then we also had POW MIA bracelets that people wore to remember us. When we told them that these two things had started and that they had not been forgotten or abandoned, that was the biggest piece of news that we could give them in terms of encouragement, that they felt that they might actually be coming home to a welcoming nation. So it was good for us, but it was uncomfortable because so many had come before us that had been abused or disrespected. In every event that I go to, generally Vietnam veterans are there, and they still go by the slogan that they will never let another veteran come home and be forgotten or ignored. So if you ever see some of these welcome home ceremonies at the airport for our post 9/11 veterans, it's always Vietnam veterans that are there welcoming home. So I am here, it is an honor for me to be in any of these circumstances. I really value and appreciate organizations that'll take the time to put together a remembrance table and chair to respect not just the POWs, but the missing in action. So thanks for including me, Congressman Brady. It's always great to see you. Always been a stalwart in support of our veterans. So thank you all for being here today.
Hang in there, please.
Filming that camera.